Welcome to Tales from the Switch Vault, where I, Jim, look back at some of the weird and wonderful games from the Nintendo Switch. This time, I conquer in Sid Meier's Civilization 6. Released originally on PC back in October 2016, it made the surprise jump to Nintendo Switch in November 2018 and followed up by other consoles and mobile over the next 2 years. The sixth entry in the turn-based strategy and 4X series for stalwart Fire Access Games and published by Aspyr. For predominantly a PC series of such a large scope, many were not expecting the strategy series to come across, and stands relatively alone in the genre on Switch. The game's premise is actually quite simple. You must pick a nation and build up cities, armies and research tech to conquer the world. The player takes turn against either the AI or other human players to plot out a way to win. Starting in the ancient era, you're able to bring the nation through human history into the modern era with new army units, buildings and tech. My history with the series goes all the way back to Civilization 2 on the PlayStation, which we rented and played deep into the night at my friend Sam's house. Moving on to PC, I played the hell out of 3 and 4, but falling off quite quickly in Civilization 5. That was 8 years ago, and since Civ 4 the series has moved on by so much. The basic mechanics broadly work the same, but the depth has increased significantly. It is a little daunting, even as a returning player, but that means there's a lot to sink your teeth into. To start with, you pick a nation with its leader that grants you unique buildings and or units alongside bonuses. Plonked down on the map and given a settler, you get to create your starting city, Rome in this case. From here you can create more settlers to expand your nation and allow more production. Players can choose a multitude of victory types including science, culture, domination, religion or diplomacy. Domination is the classic, using armies to wipe out other civilizations. It's a lot of fun, but requires a fair amount of strategy. However, having your reputation affected by your warmongering does add pause for thought. So when the AI slapped down a brand new city right on my border in the middle of the island, I had to nab it. A quick war and 2 new cities later, aided by buying mercenaries, still allowed my planned science victory without slowing me down too much. I absolutely adore building wonders. Who wouldn't want to put the pyramids next to the Colosseum? Visually, I love the map design. Each of the biomes looks stunning and bleed into one another magnificently. It's startling just how much detail has been added. It's even more impressive with the procedurally generated worlds. Resources are strewn across the map, allowing the player to farm or mine them. These all aid in production and food, allowing your cities to grow. I really like the leader designs, though they have gone through a few iterations across the series and went a bit too cartoony for my liking, but here they've hit the right balance. The UI on Switch is, let's say, cramped. There's a hell of a lot of information to provide, particularly stats on the top bar of the screen. In fact, there's so many you kind of want to ignore it. But it's necessary to manage these mechanics, and considering this was a PC game has made the jump from mouse to control stick really well. One-click sidebars allow the player to select a myriad of menus and text. It even has touchscreen. One concern I had in handheld was the text size, but it shows up pretty well on the OLED. The music here is absolutely amazing, as epic as anything you would likely to hear in a movie. It's fully orchestrated. Each nation has its own songs that grow in complexity as you pass through the eras. Famously, Baba Yetu, the theme song from Civilization 4, was the first video game music to win a Grammy, written by Christopher Tin. The real, literal star of the show here for me is Sean Bean, who narrates brilliantly. His soothing, elegant Yorkshire accent is perfect for introducing the creation of the pyramids or the nature of inventing the wheel. I get a kick out of it every time I hear it. Alongside him, each leader is voice acted in their native language, with subtitles, which is just a really nice touch. All in all, excellent work. This is a literal one more turn kind of a game. I struggle to put it down while trying to get this script ready. I love a game that moves this quickly. There's always something to be working towards. A new wonder to create, a barbarian camp to clear out. It's really snappy and keeps the player engaged, particularly in the middle of a match as you expand rapidly. A game can easily take 20 hours depending on your settings and playstyle, though they absolutely fly by. The sheer amount of options available make this a game you can play again and again. Each nation's unique abilities or items allow the player to really lean into a strategy, often breaking the game in a very fun way. Setbacks and mistakes are very much part of the enjoyment. Getting revenge is absolutely delicious and may take many turns, but it keeps you hooked. On Switch, this game is unique. It's only really like titles like Northgard that are similar in these terms, though they are typically more on RTS. To find another major 4X game, you need to go to PC for options like Stellaris or Humankind. 4X, which stands for Explore, Expand, Exploit and Exterminate, has you building up cities and units to dominate the game. You'll have to lean into all of these to some degree. Even a pacifist run will still need you to take down barbarians. But conquering is not the only way, and it's really refreshing. Launching a rocket and satellite to then eventually colonize Mars makes for hugely different priorities. Then there's all the diplomacy and trading, even religion. I'm really pleased to see just how successful Civilization 6 has been on Switch, filling a niche and was the easiest way to play portably prior to the Steam Deck launching. This game is massive and hugely customizable. It's staggering how many options the player is given. Map size, enemies, nation states, all can be changed. That replayability alone makes this series stand out, giving the hardcore players years of content to dive into. Add in the additional scenarios, let alone playing online with other people. It even has the cross-save option with PC, which is a really nice addition for people on the go. The series is famous for its DLCs. The initial game comes out as a pared back version, and then over time DLC is added, with huge new gameplay additions along the way. Alongside that, a lot of new nations get added as well for you to play as. On Switch, these are part of the Anthology Pack, giving you the Gathering Storm as well as the Rise and Fall DLCs. Add in the notorious overpowered civilizations that get added and completely break the game in ridiculous ways, making it well worth pickup for seasoned players. Fireaxe's games has a storied history, creating some of the best strategy games ever made. Outside of Civilization, they are most known for XCOM 2, which is already on Switch. It's been 8.5 years since Civ 6 released, and by now they should have launched Civilization 7 on both PCs, consoles and Nintendo Switch. Though notorious for slightly rocky launches and not getting good for a couple of years, I'm still optimistic about Civ 7. There are due to be huge changes to the formula, with the largest being a limitation on the starting nations, and the ability to change who you are mid-game. Intriguing. For me, this kind of evolution is the right move. It might not appeal to everyone, but 6 is still available to play. Oh, and shouts out to Gwendolyn Christie, Brienne of Game of Thrones fame, as the next orator. Excellent choice. Naturally, Civ 6 won the Best Strategy Game at the 2016 Game Awards, and Strategy/Sim Game of the Year at the DICE Awards. It also reviewed really highly, with a Metacritic score in the high 80s for all versions. It managed to ship over 11 million copies at the last count, which is the most of any in the series has ever done. It seems to go from strength to strength. Look, I've barely scratched the surface on what this game offers, let alone being able to explain it all. It is rather daunting, but really worth the effort. As usual, I have some issues with the title on Switch. The initial loading time into a save takes longer than you'd want. In-game, with more modern settings, it runs at a snappy pace. I'd also prefer a better guide or training. The advice given in-game is useful, but there's so much going on, it's a very steep learning curve. Particularly when you need to optimize your strategy and not get spread out across techs and governments. There are excellent resources online that help massively though. The best tip is just to play and learn on the go. I'm hopeful that the beefier hardware of Switch 2 will open this up to a bigger scope. It's easy to say that this PC game should be played on PC, but though just having it run, and run pretty well on Switch, is amazing. There's still a lot of fun to be had with fewer enemies and city-states, and considering how cheap it is in the sale, it's a must-have, though the expansions will set you back a little bit. It's a fantastic game to sink a whole afternoon into. It really helps that they even include the real-time clock in the corner to stop you losing track of time so much. More sim games should include this feature. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have the Great Lighthouse to go and build.